Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are putting the spotlight on this. This is Masters of the Universe Revelation Spikor, as seen in the new Netflix animated series, and this is produced by Mattel. It's part of their Masterverse line of action figures, features 30 points of articulation. So yeah, let's get to it. Okay, so first off, I have no attachment whatsoever to the Spikor character. When I think Masters of the Universe, growing up as a kid, I normally, what comes to mind is, the solid core cast of characters like He-Man, Skeletor, Beastman, Man-at-Arms, Evelyn, Teela. Some of the other characters, for me, they kind of borderline on fringe. They're not ones that, in terms of action figures, are ones that I necessarily need to run out and get. But in this case, with the new Revelation line, I saw this as a great opportunity to, kind of familiarize myself with this character. I am enjoying the new Netflix series a lot. I finished the first half. I'm almost done with the second half. And Spikor, he's a very, very minor character. He's barely had any screen time, unlike, some of the other characters like Beastman. But like I said, for me, this is a guy that he's a little bit more fringe. He's kind of more on the outside. But as a toy, he looks something that if I was a child, I'd be very drawn to. He looks amazing. He has this awesome spiked mace. It looks like he has some sort of swappable forearm. He has a crazy vest covered in spikes. His head's covered in spikes, hence the name Spikor. So yeah, I'm going to check this out. Like I said, I don't have any attachment to this character. If you happen to be a big fan of Spikor, more power to you. But I'm kind of coming into this review a little bit more naive than usual. So let's get to it. So we have Spikor, the untouchable master of evil combat. Of all of Skeletor's henchmen, none is more dangerous in close quarters combat than Spikor. The evil blacksmith, when enchanted razor-sharp spiked armor fused to his body, forges weapons for the ruthless overlord. Hailing from his secret stronghold hidden in the mountains, Spikor fights by his master's side whenever he is beckoned. Alright, so one thing that kind of struck me odd about Spikor is that, I think, what is this, Wave 2 of the Revelation line? It kind of caught me off guard because, in all honesty, there's a part of me that was hoping that by Wave 2 we would have at least gotten, something like Trapjaw. Trapjaw for me is a second. He's not the same level as like Beastman. He's a little bit more second tier, but he's a much more significant character in my opinion than Spikor is. But like I said, I'm kind of stoked to have this action figure. The box art is amazing. Wonderful illustration on the side here and over here. But this is a character that, at least at a couple of the targets I've gone to so far, he's starting to warm up the pegs. I think the initial excitement for some collectors, when he first started popping up, people bought him, much like myself. The initial excitement of seeing a new figure, I got him. But now that the figure's been out for a little bit, I think the excitement's kind of died down with this character. So I believe, at least for me in my location, he's a little bit easier to find in my local Targets. So depending on where you live and the popularity of Masters of the Universe in general in your area, this guy might be readily available. So just keep an eye out for him. Okay, so first impressions of Spikor while he's in the tray. He looks fun. I think that's the first thing that came to mind. I like his color scheme a lot. I like this spiked mace. The orange is kind of nice. This other hand, which I don't know what kind of weapon this is supposed to be. It's a three-pronged kind of like fork. I don't know if this is kind of like, if these are like a pile drive effect or if it just spins around. It's kind of reminiscent for me of like Trapjaw, because Trapjaw has the swappable arm pieces which have different weapons. So this kind of takes me back to that. He comes with 2 additional hands, as you can see here. They're both fists. And let's take this guy out of the package real quick. So my memory gets really bad sometimes, so I don't remember how much screen time he's had. I'm assuming it's very little if I can't remember. It seems for the most part, you know, the series is really just focusing on, you know, the heavy hitter characters. And some of these other characters, they kind of like lay waste to the side. You know, like the other day I was watching one episode, it had like, I think it had Fisto and Clamp Champ, but they were on there very briefly. And then I remember the one episode with Moss Man. For me, that was very disappointing. So unless you're like Beast Man or Evelyn or like, you know, Man at Arms, seems like all these other characters, they're just going to take the back seat to everyone else. I would have appreciated it if, you know, there's so many episodes across the board that if each episode had on the side like a focus on like one of the minor characters, you know, besides just like some sort of random cameo. One thing I noticed about this guy too, so if this is his flesh tone, he's not wearing any underwear. I don't know, I'm weird like that. Okay, so let's take a look at Spikor. So if you've handled a Revelation figure before, his body is pretty much, you know, the same mold you're seeing for the arms and the legs, and I believe the torso. These figures, I believe they fall roughly, let me grab a ruler real quick. They're roughly about 7 inches tall. So you're looking at a decent sized figure. You know, they're slightly taller than like a Marvel Legends. Maybe a little bit shorter than a McFarlane DC Multiverse figure. I've said this in previous videos. At least in my opinion, I feel that, you know, some of these figures are like a slight grade above a Marvel Legends figure. At least the more comic book based Marvel Legends figure. The quality of these Revelation figures, you know, they're for the most part, for me anyways, I think they're excellent. I've had a couple of issues with some of the other figures in terms of quality control. Like I've had a couple of stuck joints. Like if you watched my Man at Arms video or my Tila video, I've run into stuck joints there. This guy seems to be alright. I don't think I'm running into any of those kind of issues. Yeah, it's a very this is a very solid figure, much like the rest of the Revelation line. I think if you were like really keen on the classics figures that came out some years ago, I think you're gonna feel very much at home with these figures. So yeah, we have Spikor here. Very generic body, but that's the nature of this line of toys. I love the shade of purple they use for his head. There's a lighter shade of purple for his arms and legs. The sculpting's well done. It's a little on the soft side for my taste, but it does a good job of just capturing that animated cartoon feel that we see in the TV series. All the spikes on his head, they're kind of soft, so you're not going to like poke your eye out. You know, it's kind of it's not too soft of a rubbery plastic, but it has some flex to it. But it's not like super pointy. Same with the vest here. This vest, let's see if we could take this one off. So it's clasped on both sides. And let's get a peek at what's underneath. So unlike, you know, Man at Arms, you can't remove this vest unless you take the head off, just because his head's so wide with all these protruding spikes. But at the very least, just take a look underneath. So that's how the torso cut is below the chest line. So it allows for some ab crunching like this and some rotating. It's kind of odd. Like when I first lifted this up and covered up this face, my first thought is that if you removed all these extra pieces, this would be a great body for a custom Phantom figure. If you remember the Phantom, especially the old 80s movie, not 80s, it might have been 90s film with, I believe it was Billy Zane. You know, this shade of purple kind of really reminds me of that. I love the paint application on his belt. It's kind of like a metallic shaded magenta with like a metallic pink on top of it. It looks really keen. Likewise, the fur on his lower torso, I don't think it's highlighted with paints, but I might be wrong on that. I take it back. It does appear there's a slight highlight on it, but the way the light comes off of it, it looks really nice. The boots are the kind of boots we've gotten on some figures already. They have that furry cuff at the top with the bandages. Yeah, so very solid, decent figure. Articulation-wise, head rotates, arm rotates, standard bicep cut with the swivel. He has double-jointed elbows, and the pins are hidden, as you can see. Wrist articulation. It's kind of a tight fit, but it kind of closes a little. Waist swivel. His legs could kick up, but it's kind of hindered by the fur in the front. He could kick out to the side. And in terms of the splits, he can go about this far out. Double jointed knees. You don't see the pins, which is awesome. Yeah, very clean figure all around. You know, he's kind of bare minimum, but for what his gimmick is, all about the spikes and sharp, pointy things, you know, kind of like, you know, he ticks all the boxes there. I like the orange on his mace a lot. It provides a lot of good contrast against him, and he has a very hard. It's hard to get in. The thumb is pretty. Yeah, okay, there we go. It's gonna take some work, but there we go. He got his mace in. And in terms of swapping this out, hopefully it's easy removing the hand. Let's take a look. Alright, some force. The pegs look to be about the identical size, so I believe you just plug it in and that's pretty much it. Yeah, so there's Spikor. He's ready to rock and roll. So I don't know what the nature of this weapon is here. I don't know if it's like a pile driver effect where these kind of like are on pistons or if this thing spins around. But for the most part, once you have it on his hand, it doesn't do much outside of this, you know, rotating at the wrist. But it's a very cool look. You know, in terms of like gimmicks, I feel it's not as substantial a gimmick as like some of the other Masters of the Universe characters have. You know, like for example, Ram Man, he has a very gimmicky feature. He's spring-loaded. I mean, at least there's not a Ram Man in the Revelation line, but I just mean Ram Man in general. You know, he has that spring-loaded legs and he can shoot up. You know, Trapjaw has the swappable forearms and his jaw actually closes up and down. This guy isn't as gimmicky as like some of the other toys in previous Masters lines. You know, for this is pretty much just swapping out his hand and that's it. You know, I don't think the spikes is a deep enough gimmick for me, but it's a cool look. Ow, that's tight. Okay. So yeah, I mean, this pretty much sums it up. It's not the most spectacular character. If I had to rate this guy numerically on a scale of 1 to 10, a very even 7. You know, it's not a high 7, it's not a low 7, it's just a very even 7. He does what he says. He's Spikor. You know, he's covered in spikes. Figure is well done, albeit a bit generic. Because essentially, if you think about it, he's essentially the same figure as He-Man in terms of the body pieces. The only thing different is this vest in his head. Otherwise, he shares the same boots, the same legs. I believe this is probably the same as He-Man's, and same with the gauntlets and the arms. But you know, that was the nature of the figures back in the day. Also, in the old '80s figures, you know, a lot of them shared the same mold. They shared the same limbs. So it's a decent figure. If you're into the Revelation line, do you need this guy? I'm going to say yes. Right now, having a solid whole entire collection of this Revelation figures is very doable since I think they're only like maybe 2 waves in. And if they continue on with the Masterverse line, you know, at the rate they're going, you know, we could end up with a couple dozen figures in a couple of years. So yeah, you know, if you want to build up your Revelation collection, this guy is worth the purchase. I believe I paid maybe like $21 at my local Target. But at the rate he's kind of like just sitting on the shelves right now, at least at some of the targets I've been to, you know, always keep an eye out for a deal. You know, you never know. Maybe he'll show up on Amazon for a couple of dollars less. And anytime you could buy a figure cheaper than the actual retail price is always a win. So, you know, just something to keep in mind, especially if this is on your radar. All right, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for your likes, comments, and support. I greatly appreciate it. To be honest, this review felt a little flat for me. Like I said, I don't have any emotional attachment to this character, and his gimmick isn't the like most eye-catching. So I don't know. If you found this review a little bit lackluster, I apologize for that. You know, normally when I'm reviewing an action figure, most of the time I'm very enthusiastic about the subject material. In this case, this is a character I know very little about. You know, as a child, I didn't necessarily grow up with this figure. And on the new cartoon, he barely has any screen time. So for me, it's just pretty much just reviewing a toy, not necessarily reviewing the character. So if you're looking for something with more bells and whistles in a video review, you know, I'm sorry that this one kind of felt a little bit short. At least that's how I feel about this. But I hope you can at least walk away knowing whether or not this is something you're going to want to buy at the store. So if I accomplish that, you know, good. All right, so I'll see you at the next video. Take care of yourself. Later.